Hi, fourth graders, and welcome to one of our first math lessons online. Wanted to start today with addition. Even though it's not on our assignment today, you will be seeing this method of addition estimation throughout our time together in our math book. So I've called our lesson the high-low estimate game, and I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about how to do the front end estimation and to figure out some of the tricks on knowing whether you have enough of something. There are reasons that we estimate, and first of all, I never know how many are planning to come when you invite people, say, to a gathering or to a graduation party or to even a birthday party when you've invited a lot of people. So you have to make a high estimate and a low estimate because you don't want too much, but you don't want to run out of food either. So sometimes it's a useful tool to know how to do the high-low estimation. So when we're talking about addition, what you do first is you completely just look at the front end number of each of the numbers. So in this case, we have 400. We're just going to take the 4, 3 plus 1. So I know that if I don't even consider the back end, that I need at least 800 of something. Okay? So that's my low estimate. And my high estimate, I'm going to take the 60 and the 40. That's around 100. And 98 is pretty close to 100 as well. So I'm going to need between 800 and 1,000, maybe packages of Trolli Sour Gummy Worms or Hershey's chocolate. I don't know. Haven't decided what I'm serving yet. So that's a good way to find that range of what you're going to need. And here are the steps. Number one is I've circled in red the straight front end estimation. That got us to the 800. And we add up. So then you estimate the remaining and you look for 100s. So I circle 2 and I say that's about 100, and I look at that one and that's about 100. And normally I will round up if I don't want to run out of something. So in this case, example number 2, 5 plus 1 plus 3 is 900, and here 40, that's about 50, 30, and 30. That's around 100. So probably between 900 or a little over 1,000 is what I see right there. Again, we've gone through this a little bit in the past, but I just want to give you the techniques. So now we're getting to what our assignment has on it, and this is the high and low subtraction, so it is important that you write this down. So step number 1, when you're doing the high-low for subtraction, you take your low estimate, and to get that, you take your biggest number and you round it all the way down. It doesn't matter if it's over 50, you just round it down. So the 534 would round down to 500. You take the little number, whatever it is, and you round it all the way up to the next 100. So 278 will round up to 300. So my low estimate will be 500 minus 300. My low estimate is 200. Okay? So make sure you have these steps down in your notes. To find the high estimate, now we're going to take the biggest number and we're going to push it up. I know that doesn't seem right. Like, no, Mrs. McKinley, it's not a 5. It's okay. We're doing a new technique, and that's you take the biggest number and you go up. That's 600. You take the smallest number and you round it all the way down. But wait, Mrs. McKinley, that's almost 300. I know, but this is a different technique. We're going to round it all the way back down to 200. And we are going to get... we're going to get 400 because 600 minus 200 is 400. And I've drawn a little line here to show you this is the range that it will be in. It will fall in there. And this is a good thing to do in your head just so that you can say, hey, that number doesn't make sense. If you do the exact subtraction and you do the 400 and the 200, you know your real answer has to be between there, and you got, say, 123, you know you're way off if you come out on either side of these. Your exact number, although you might be a little bit off, sometimes we have calculation errors, it should fall between these two numbers. So notice the two steps that you do. It's a different, your big number goes down on the low estimate, but it goes up on the high estimate. Your little number goes up on the low estimate, but it does the opposite and goes down. You will get your notes to use this if it's on the quiz or the test. Okay, so now we're going to go on to high and low multiplication. Start right up here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have the front end numbers both go down to find the low estimate. That makes sense, doesn't it? Because we're finding low, they both go low. So 253, we're going to just round it all the way down to 200. And then the 10, we're going to round all the way down, or 15, we're going to round all the way down to 10. 200 times 10 is rather simple. We can get a 2,000. To find the high estimate, we're going to round them both up. Makes sense, doesn't it? 253 will round up to 300, and then the 15 will go all the way up to 20, giving us a total of 600. Or 6,000, excuse me. So I know that my real answer has to fall between 2,000 and 6,000 to be correct. Okay? So as long as you have these two steps and you look at each problem, you say, okay, what do I need to do to find the low? Okay, I push them both down. Find the high? Okay, I push them both up and then multiply. The numbers over here are much easier to work with. Okay. Now we're going to work on high-low division. I find that this one is a little bit trickier for students just because division tends to be a little bit trickier. We talked yesterday about mooshing numbers or compatible numbers, and that's basically what we're going to do in this technique. So to find a low estimate, we're going to use a number that mooshes or is compatible that's lower than the one we see here. So what it is helpful to know is, what are my multiples of 8? Well, I know 8, 16, 24, and 32 are right around that. Oh, 2400 would be lower than this. So that's my compatible number I'm going to use to smoosh it into, or my compatible number. So I am going to end up with 300 being my low estimate. So if you see what I did here, I knew my number that it was compatible with needed to be lower than 2,600 in order to be workable for a low estimate. For a high estimate, we find another multiple, but it has to be an easily mooshable multiple, but it has to be higher than our original number. Well, since I was at 2,400, I'm going to go the next multiple of 8 up, which would be 3,200. So I put 32 as my dividend, and remember 8 is my divisor. Still, that stays the same. So 8 goes into 3,200 400 times, so that I know that my real answer to this division problem has to fall between 300 and 400. This is a great trick to use after you have done a problem to say, okay, does it make sense? Did it fall between these two numbers? Some of my students have done this at first to say, okay, whatever number I get has to fall between these two numbers. A lot of times as an adult, I usually do stuff like this with almost no thought because I do it in my head. Okay? All of the examples can be found. I'm going to show you The estimating sums is on page 745. I'll show you the page number right down there. And your assignment really starts on the high-low page, which is estimating differences, 746, followed by multiplication on 747, and the estimating quotients or the division problems on 748. Please note that I've just had you do the odds. I do want to see your work. It's important to me to see how you came up with the technique that you used and did you use it correctly. But you may check your answers in the back. There are times when a number does need to round down to 0, and that is okay. If you check the back of the book and find that they did that, it's all right with me if you go back into that. Please see me with any questions, and I hope you enjoy this assignment, and I hope you actually use these techniques as you go about your real life. Math is important because it does go into our real life on a daily basis, especially estimation. All right, see you if you have questions.